Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me this evening. I'm Superintendent Dr. Leslie Torres Rodriguez, and I welcome you to our weekly town hall for a review of our Return to Learn plan and an opportunity for you to ask myself and members of my team questions. I have tonight here several of our team members that have been working really, really hard, and I'm so proud of the work that they've been doing. With me is Nuchet Blackberg, who's our chief from our Office of Family and Community Partnerships. Ms. Deb Kamaitis, who has done a tremendous job. And we appreciate her leadership in our health and safety committee. And she's also the coordinator of our health services for Hartford Public Schools. We have John Fergus here, who's doing a lot of our work with communications, and the rest of the team is here. And also our chief of schools, Yvette Avila, who is working tirelessly supporting our school leaders and making sure that our schools are not only ready to open, but she's also supporting our schools through this fast changing and challenging process. So we're going to do an overview of our plan, our efforts to mitigate the spread of the virus, and then we'll get into some questions. I'll begin by lifting 4 key facts about our approach, and safety remains our top priority. We will only operate in person when it is safe to do so. And so we continue to partner with the state and local health officials to use our public health data to determine when in-person learning is safe. And if the conditions change, then our plan will have to change. Also, it is important for me to lift that our students will not stop learning. We are committed to providing our students, your children, with an excellent education, regardless of the flu or the virus or any other external health condition. We want to make sure that whether it is in person or remotely, that we provide excellent education for the students. And we also believe that it's important for our families to get to choose how their children learn this fall. And we believe that in-person learning and instruction is the better way to learn for most students. And we also know that it's important for some families to have the option to learn remotely. And then I want to let you know that we are prepared. We have taken care of obtaining the necessary equipment, and we've developed health and safety protocols to prepare for this fall, certainly to prepare for where we are today in relation to the external health conditions. And so if we have to make any changes, we developed a plan that would allow for that flexibility. So we did develop our operational decision meter to help us determine when we had to make any shifts in learning. And so reflected here below, you will see that we will change the learning model based on what the external COVID conditions and the data tell us. Right now, up until last week, we actually check the data at the end of the week and over the weekend. But where we were and where we are is in the yellow, right? That means that it's moderate to a controlled safety category. And so it is still safe for us to open in-person for in-person schooling. That means that, our state, according to the state reporting, that Hartford County's percent for test positivity was at the 0.8, and the city of Hartford's test positivity was low at 1.8. This was last week's data. We review the data every 7 days. We get to review the data again this weekend. But where we are and where we have been is in the yellow, which means that it's moderate to controlled. And we are planning for pre-K through 9 to be fully in person with half days on Wednesdays and grades 10 through 12 to be learning on a hybrid model. I'll explain what that means in a moment. If we have to change because our external health conditions change, then we move over. And I mean, if they change for the worse. If the cases continue to increase and we get to a significant or uncontrolled level, then we move over to the orange, and then our learning model and the environments have to change as well. A quick review of the options. Again, we do believe that in-person instruction is a better way to learn for most of our students, but we wanted also to provide the option for remote-only instruction. And so we have here option A, which is the in-person and or the hybrid for the upper grades. And this is best for students that need to be part of a setting that is focused on creating community. If there's a need for students to learn in a social way, in person, and then students that need additional engagement. And then, of course, the option to learn remotely, which is part of a school-based model for students who cannot attend in person, depending on the family situation. So this is an overview of what the model would look like for the in-person model for students. In pre-K through 9, students will be with us in person every single day. Wednesdays is a half day for students. And then for our 10th through 12th graders, students would be operating in a hybrid model. And so we would have 2 groups of students. They would come to school 2 days a week and then learn remotely the remainder of the week. And then the opposite group will do the opposite. They will come to the school the 2 days at the end of the week and learn at a distance at the beginning of the week. And so this is where we are in the yellow. If we had to pivot and we had to change because the external COVID conditions indicate that we needed to do that, then we would go to orange, and you would see there that at the bottom there under the orange, you would see that our 10th through 12th graders would then go to fully remote online learning, and then pre-K 9 would learn on a hybrid model. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide, but I just wanted to call your attention that this is a sample school day schedule for the students that are going to be with us in person, either every day, Monday through Friday, pre-K through 9, or for the 10th through 12th graders that are in a hybrid model. And so as you can see here, students would have a schedule that is very similar to what they had when they were with us, last year. We want to make sure that they have a schedule that is as similar as before, that meets the needs of our students, and at the high school level, that ensures that our students stay on track to earning their credits and to graduating. With regard to option B, those are the families that are opting for remote only. This is part of a model that is based in the school. And so teachers from the school will be teaching your child, and it will mostly be synchronous, and it will include live instruction with the teacher. We want to make sure that our families know that if our students that are learning remotely need social and emotional learning supports to be provided, we will have those services available from social workers, counselors, and other support teams. This is a sample schedule for our students that are going to learn remotely. Each student, we are making sure that there is time for students to have all of their content classes, their English, their math, their social studies, their science. And as you can see throughout here, we want to make sure that there are specific time that addresses our curriculum guidelines. We always get questions about our pre-K students. And so again, this is a sample school day for our younger learners. Preschoolers will remain, part of a group, and they're going to learn remotely as part of their own group. This is a reminder that where we are today, because we are in the yellow, and we wanted to allow a little extra time for our students and our teachers to learn the protocols, to practice, to rearrange the learning environments, to ensure safety, and that we minimize the risk of transmission. And so here is the way that we're going to start, which already, remember, that is a week later. We were scheduled to start on the 31st of August. We are now starting a week after. And so the first day of school, this is for students that this specific schedule here for in-person students. I want to make sure that everyone knows that whether you're in person, you're hybrid, or you're fully remote, everyone starts on September 8th, Tuesday, September 8th. However, the students that are participating in person, this is what their schedule will look like that first week of school. So on Tuesday, September 8th, in-person learning students, the only grades that will come in person are pre-K through grade 2, grade 6, and grade 9. And you see there, September 9th, that there's another group of grades that are going to come in person. This is during this first week of school. So during the days that the grades are not listed here, students learn remotely. But we just want to make sure that everyone understands that this is just for this week only. That there's a very staggered approach, again, to allow time for students and staff to practice and learn our new routines and our safety protocols. I know there's a lot on this slide, and what I will remind everyone is that we are committed to making sure that all of our learners are able to have access to high quality teaching and learning. Students that have exceptionalities, that have individualized education plans, our English learners, if students that are disengaged or homeless, we are working to ensure that students not only have access to the supports that they need, but that they remain, and that we remain engaged and connected with them and their families. We've gotten certain questions about student meals, and just want to remind everyone that the last day for student meals, for student meal distribution, is tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, August 28th. And we will begin again distributing meals for students that are learning remotely. And that will start on that first day of school, which is September 8th. And so a reminder that students or guardians or caregivers will need to have a student's ID or lunch number to pick up the meals. We are going to share those details next week as to the locations and the times of our meal distribution. And of course, for the students that are going to be learning in person, then we also will have our pre-K through first grade. They're going to eat their food, their meals in the classroom, and then their second through 12th grade will eat and their meals in the cafeteria with physical distancing to the extent possible. Knowing that more than 50% of our families have chosen to learn remotely, to have their child or their children learn remotely, that means that we will have less students in our buses. And so as it relates to transportation, buses will serve students that are eligible for transportation. And we are going to require masks to be worn at the bus stop, inside our buses. And we're going to require that students board the bus and sit from the back and to the front. This is going to allow us to limit the amount of contact between and among students. And we're going to have our buses cleaned and disinfected after each ride at the end of every day. We are going to send communication with regard to the bus schedules that are going to be provided the week of August 31st, which is next week. So be on the lookout for information as to bus routes and times of bus pickups. I know that there are a lot of questions about our health and safety protocols and what we are doing to reduce person-to-person transmission. I'll review some of these. I'm sure that there will be additional questions that Ms. Deb Kamaitis would be able to address. Again, a reminder that the requirement for everyone, students and adults and staff, is that we have face coverings in our schools, in our buildings, at the bus stop, in the buses. We are going to require that unless there is some type of exemption, and that is going to be reviewed on a person-by-person basis. We are going to have mask breaks. The expectation is for teachers and staff to schedule mask breaks every hour. And we have delivered personal protective equipment and the supplies to school sites. If a student or a staff member forgets or loses their mask in any way, we will have one available for them. With regard to physical distancing, we will keep to the extent possible. To the extent possible, we will keep the 6 feet of distance. There will be instances, especially, for example, in some classrooms, where we will not be able to keep the 6 feet of distance. However, this is why the mask is a requirement, because we know that the guidance that is provided is that if you are not able, whether it is in school or anywhere else, if you're not able to have the 6 feet of distance, then you have to have a mask on. And so in addition to the mask, as it relates to physical distancing, we are going to regularly require hand washing and for students to follow all the other precautions. At the elementary and middle school level, we will have the groups of students, cohorts, that will remain together and travel together. We're also working really hard. Our principals are working really hard to have our 9th graders also remain in cohorts. We know that there would be cases in which that's not possible, and our 9th graders are going to perhaps cross cohorts. And this is why, again, we rely on wearing the masks and physical distancing to the extent possible. That goes along with the hand washing and the sanitizing and the added signage that we will have throughout all of our schools. With regard to cleaning, we have added 15 additional custodial staff to the current staff that we have. We know that each Wednesday is going to be an early dismissal day, and that will allow an opportunity to do deeper cleaning in our facilities. And we know that school buildings will be cleaned daily, specifically the high touch surface areas and our restrooms to be cleaned twice a day. We have gotten questions about facility ventilation, and wanted to let everyone know that our systems will purge facility air daily for 2 hours after students and staff are not in school. Our ventilation systems will run constantly when the facilities are being occupied. The filters will continue to be cleaned in our units, and any adjustments will be made to increase fresh air intake. The HVAC, our HVAC personnel are ensuring full operation of our exhaust fans in our facilities, and the filters across the district are being upgraded from MERV 8 to a higher grade, which is the MERV 13. And lastly, I will ask Ms. Deb Kamaitis to speak to the health monitoring because it goes hand in hand with the contact tracing. What it is that we're doing, Ms. Kamaitis, for staff, students, and then how that's connected to contact tracing.
Thank you so much, Superintendent. So in terms of health monitoring, we will be implementing a COVID-specific screening tool that for our staff that will be starting next week, and they will be asked to report any symptoms to attest to the fact that they're feeling okay before they report to work each day. We're also advising our families about when to keep students home and are expecting them to screen their students and make sure they're healthy before sending them to school. An isolation room at every school has been identified so that we have students who get ill during the day with COVID-like symptoms. They will use the isolation room supervised by a staff member until a parent can come and pick them up. And staff experiencing COVID-like symptoms will be required to leave the building as quickly as possible and follow up with the district's health and safety team. In terms of contact tracing, every school nurse will be responsible for contact tracing of students with input as necessary from our school level containment response teams. We also work daily with the Hartford Health Department on all of our contact tracing measures. We are in the process of hiring a contact tracing nurse who will be housed at central office, and she will provide support and oversight to the school level containment response teams. And she will lead contact tracing for the district as a whole, again, working with the Hartford Health Department on a daily basis. Our school level containment response teams will meet regularly to review their data and collaborate with the district's coordinator of health services, myself, and the City of Hartford's Director of Health and Human Services.
Thank you, Ms. Kamaitis. And this work actually with the health monitoring and the contact tracing will continue, you know, regardless of the level that we're in, right? Right now we're in yellow, but if we have to change in any way, we want to continue to monitor our student and staff health and, you know, continue to do our contact tracing with our partners at the city level. Want to remind you all that we will provide a device for each student. And so if you have already a district laptop or your own personal device, you should continue to use those, but know that we have one available for every student. If your device that you received in the spring is damaged or requires repair, replacement in any way, please complete the survey. There is a live link here. This presentation is going to be available on our website. We also did send the technology survey home. And so we ask that you take a minute and complete that. If you do not have a device at home, if you have multiple children at home and you need more than one device, because we do want each student to have their own device to work on, please complete the survey, call the Welcome Center so that we can get that to you. And also, if you need internet access, we have remote hotspots. And so those are tools that you can have access to the internet, and you can take that with you, and you can have access to the internet. We can provide those for students and families as well. So it's a matter of you connecting with us and letting us know that you have a need. So we ask that you connect with us. Our central office returns to in-person work at our new location at Buckley High School, starting next Monday, the 31st of August. We have been working remotely because our new space at Buckley has been under construction. However, we will be there next Monday. So if you need to connect with us or contact us, you can do that. However, our Welcome Center and the Office of Enrollment and School Choice also will reopen by appointment only, and they will remain located at 960 Main. So this is important distinction. The Office of Enrollment and School Choice and the Welcome Center, they will open for appointments by appointment only, but they will still remain at their current location, which is 960 Main. Everyone else, the remainder of staff at central office, will move and will be at Buckley at our new location starting next week, the 31st. And so we ask that you contact us if you have any questions, concerns, and we have the contact information there. And so we can certainly now go to some questions.
Good evening, Dr. Torres Rodriguez. So some questions that had come in from our Welcome Center. First, what will classrooms look like in terms of size and configuration, and how was that decided?
So our school leaders, our teachers who came back yesterday and were here today have been working really hard, and classroom size will vary depending on enrollment. Pre-K through ninth grade will be organized into cohorts or small groups that remain with the same teacher throughout the day. And physical distancing will be maintained to the best extent possible, as we have gotten from state guidance. The desks will be facing in the same direction. We do not want students, facing each other. And so we want to make sure that the desks all are facing in the same direction. We have removed unnecessary chairs or any furniture that one takes additional space, or any furniture that, before COVID would be used to gather students in groups. We are using tape to mark the areas and discourage students from gathering in groups. And we're going to continue to clean and sanitize surfaces routinely on a daily basis. Class sizes, I know that Chief of Schools Avila is joining us, and so she can speak to class sizes. If I know that class sizes are being determined at the school level based on enrollment, and they vary. They vary based on the selection, of course, that our families are making as well. At the high school level, they vary based on the number of classes that we have to offer our high schoolers. Chief of Schools Avila, is there anything else that you would like to add with regard to either classroom configuration or the size. I know that you have been working really hard. Today was a day that we call a walkthrough day. And so you and a team went throughout all of the schools to make sure that schools were ready and to provide support for our school leaders.
So good evening, everyone. What I will say is that the school leaders and school counselors and many other staff members are working really hard to finalize schedules and make sure that we do the best by our students and making sure that we have the right choices that you have made, as well as making sure that we keep our students safe. And so they're fluid right now. We are in the process of finalizing classes, and that will be sent out next week. And so that families will receive their classes and students will receive their schedules. So that will be out shortly.
And I will take this opportunity to remind everyone that we're still in a very fluid situation. So while Chief Avila and our school leaders and our counselors are working really hard to finalize the schedule, we know that if the external health conditions change, we will have to change, and our schedules will have to change, and our class rosters will have to change. So this is the situation that we're in, and so we ask that we all have just a little bit of more patience, because we know that at any minute we have to be ready to respond to a change that has multiple ripple effects. So I want to thank you in advance for the patience and the flexibility, because I know that it's just gonna be bumpy at times, and so we want to make sure that we remain committed to, and we are committed to, ensuring safety, but we know that we're also going to have to potentially shift very quickly. So thank you, Yvette, Miss Avila, for your information. Any other questions, team?
Yes, there's in the chat that it's been mentioned several times that that based on COVID Act Now information, that there's a category that's marked orange, and the question is, does that mean that we would shift from yellow to orange?
If you could go to our decision meter. So the answer is there's a yes and oh, you skipped. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm going to ask you to go to the other slide that shows the actual one over after that one, after this one. Thank you. So we would look at two things. And when you skipped it, you went a little further ahead. Yeah, thank you. We would look at two things. One is those external metrics. And we would also look at the local health conditions. There are leading indicators, which are those that that you're lifting, and we would in collaboration with our local health officials, we would ask questions like, what does the Hartford data look like? The city of Hartford data look like? We know that there's county data, but then we would have to look at what does the local Hartford data looks like. And so we look at that data over the weekend. And so, weekends for us are like a marker. So we will continue to look at the data and how prevalent the data, right? What is the trend? If it's trending for a week, is it 2 weeks? I am, and I continue to say this, I am not the health expert. However, this is why it's so important for us to not only be mindful of the state level data, the recommendations and the guidance, and then the local conditions. But yes, we would shift to orange. And I just wanted to bring this slide because this is what it could potentially look like that we would then say, right, if we're in the yellow today, then it would shift over and our 10th through 12th grade would be fully remotely, and our pre-K9 would be hybrid, which is, when Chief Avila was saying that the teams are almost done with their schedule, then you can think about what that would mean, right? We would have to take some steps back and reassess and realign some of the schedules. Not completely, because we're not saying we're going to throw the entire model out the window, because we were very intentional in creating a model that would allow for the flexibility. So, we diligently every week, at the end of every week and over the weekend, we are analyzing multiple points of data.
How will online student learners access meals?
Yes, we will have several locations throughout our city, and we will share that information next week. We have to think about all the other safety protocols that we have to put in place as well. But students will have access. All students will have access to meals. That information will be released next week. But I want to clarify, the information as to the time, the location, and the protocol will be released next week. However, the meal distribution will begin on September 8th, which is currently what we have scheduled to be the first day of school.
What is the uniform policy?
So our uniform policy remains for students that are learning in person. We do have the uniform policy, and we will have students, we'll require that students come in uniform. However, it is important for our community to understand that if for any reason there is any difficulty, big or small, that a family has in need of a uniform, please reach out to the Welcome Center. We will take care of that. We also have gotten questions about students that are learning remotely and the need for uniforms. So we're not requiring students that are learning remotely to wear a uniform. What I am saying is that it does not mean that students can show up to their virtual, synchronous class without a shirt, right? Or wearing their pajamas. We want to make sure that even as our students are learning remotely, that they are ready to learn, because we want to continue to create those good habits for our students. So students that are in person, yes, a uniform. We are not, however, going to be punitive. This is not about addressing or issuing consequences for students that show up without a uniform. That is not the stance that we're going to take. We're going to take a stance of support and meeting our families where they are. And so if a student or family has a need, or a staff member notices that a family has a need, please reach out to the Welcome Center or to your administrator.
How will you keep students safe in the cafeteria?
Yes, so to the extent possible, we are going to have physical distancing. Ms. Yvette Avila, I know that that's one of the things on our list to check for when you go on the walkthroughs. And so if you can give us some examples of how some schools will be ensuring physical distancing.
I'm going to start with on how they line up. There are actually indicators on the floor to maintain 6 feet distancing for when they line up, actually before they line up, before they come into the cafeteria, and then once they are online to get their food as well. So we have marked each seat at the table that they're going to sit at. That will indicate that there is 6 feet. so that they're 6 feet apart and they're all facing the same direction, similar to in the classroom, so that we maintain safety. There are signs in the cafeteria that indicate table numbers, reminders in regard to where to sit and how to maintain social distancing, to wash hands before and after lunch. So that is a procedure that will happen at all of the schools to make sure that our students make sure they get in a regular routine in doing that, so that we can maintain the health and safety of our students.
When will devices be available for students who need them?
Ms. Deon?
Yeah, Ms. Avila, I know that you're working on a very specific protocol for that. I know that Mr. Dave Draxel is here as well, and I know that while he's doing technical support for the town hall, he is at the center of our technology support strategy as well. So either one of you can speak to that.
So I can start, and then I will turn it over to Mr. Draxel in case for him to add anything. And so it is really important that we have the information from the technology survey. Dr. Torres Rodriguez had indicated that survey. We definitely need your input in knowing the status of technology that you may have in the home that was given to you last year, or your needs that you have this year. So once we can compile all of that data, then we will have particular dates and devices will be distributed at your child's school, so that it will be at your student, at each student's school. So therefore, they will contact you and give you a schedule in which devices will be given out. And we will do that by appointment as well, so that we do it in a way that is very organized and on a one-to-one basis, so that you can have an opportunity to get the information you need on how to have your child engage in Google Classroom and the information that is necessary for you to be part of the learning. Mr. Draxel, do you want to add anything?
Sure. I'll just add, just to update everyone, we are in the process of getting ready to receive shipments of new technology into the district. This technology will be received by central office and distributed out to schools based on the responses received on the technology survey. So it's critical that we do get that information from our families so that we know who needs a device and so that we can provide it to you. Also to add, if you received a device from us in the spring, and if any of those devices need maintenance or repairs, or if they need to be replaced, please let us know that too, and you can indicate on the survey so that we can swap out the device for you. There were a couple questions about pre-K and kindergarten. Those grade levels will be receiving iPads for their distance learning.
Mr. Draxel, are the iPads and are the iPads readily available?
The iPads they have been ordered and we're just waiting on the shipment.
Great.
Does it matter what type of mask is used?
I'm going to ask Ms. Kamaitis to answer that. And before she does, just a reminder that we are going to be providing every student with reusable masks. We're also going to have disposable masks available. And I didn't mention this before, but we are also going to have available for every student the face shields as well, in case a student also wants to wear the clear face shield in addition to a mask. We will have that available as well for all students and for all staff. Ms. Kamaitis, can you speak to the types of masks? I know that the neck, I forgot the name of the neck.
The gaiters.
The gaiters are not allowed.
So we're not allowing the gaiters. We're also not allowing bandanas. But if students have masks that they've been wearing over the summer that are most comfortable for them, they're absolutely encouraged to wear them in school, as long as there are no inappropriate logos on the front. We want them to be appropriate, but comfort is also important. And if children have masks that they're comfortable in, that's absolutely fine. And as Dr. Torres Rodriguez stated, we will also be providing students with cloth, washable, reusable masks.
how will students know if they're group A or B in the hybrid?
Ms. Avila, would you like to address the group selection? I know that students will know next week their assignments.
So students will receive a letter that really will indicate what grouping that they will be in. And so to order to make it, we wanted to make sure that the groupings were balanced, and we used alphabetically as well as students' needs to make sure that we made sure that they were balanced in the number of students that were coming in on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday. And so the A group will come in on Monday and Tuesday, and the B group will come in on Thursday and Friday.
Thank you. And I know that we're at time. These were great questions. We will also keep the other questions and add them to our frequently asked questions document that continues to grow on our website. I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank the team also for joining and answering questions. And I want to thank you all for your flexibility. Know that this is a very fluid situation. We continue to monitor the external health conditions. We look at the data closely over the weekend and analyze the data, and we develop the plan intentionally in case we need to pivot and shift quickly. So we thank you in advance, and I wish you all a good evening.